Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to Season 3 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, recorded at the Surf City Studios in Costa Mesa, California. I have another great season of interviews with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks and hacks, and ideas you can use to take your career business to the next level. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. Great conversation with Scott Ammons from REI on the show today. Scott tells us all about the REI Outreach and Adventures they offer. We also talk about his outdoor experience and the California Outdoor Recreation Partnership and much more. Enjoy. Hey, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, great to speak with you this morning. So you had a good weekend. What's going on? Did you do anything outdoors this weekend?
This weekend was a little bit limited outdoors. My son, who's 11 years old, had a soccer tournament this weekend. So I was doing my soccer dad routine.
Cool.
But then, I usually find a chance to go out for a run. So Sunday morning, I got a chance to go run along the cliffs along the ocean here.
Nice.
Which is always a great way to start the day.
Yeah, beautiful way to start the day. Yeah. So how did you get excited about the outdoors? What was your first introduction to outdoor activities?
Well, I got started because my grandparents, my grandpa in particular, was a little bit of an outdoorsman. He was a farmer in Yuma, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And when I was a kid, they were still living in Yuma on the edge of the desert. And his idea of fun was to spend the day just driving out into the desert with his truck and a whole bunch of ATCs, those three-wheel death machines.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time adventuring around in the Arizona deserts. They also had a second house up by Lake Powell.
Oh, nice.
And then at other times of the year, when it was 120 degrees in Yuma, we would go hang out up there. So we spent a lot of time adventuring around slick rock canyons and out in the desert. And that's where I think it originally came from, is spending a whole lot of time messing about in the desert.
Nice. Fun. What did he, what kind of a farmer was he?
They owned land. The crops would rotate. So, there would be citrus, grapefruit. I know at one point he was particularly famous for his watermelons.
Oh, okay.
Grapefruit trees, a lot of lettuce in Yuma.
Fun stuff. And so, when did you get to Southern California?
I grew up here.
Oh, okay.
I was born here in Greater LA.
Gotcha. So you just went out there in Yuma to hang out for the summers and spend time with the grandparents?
Yeah, spend time with grandparents, holidays.
Get outside.
We did spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, I bet. Fun, yeah. And what was your first outdoor-related job? I noticed I was snipping around on LinkedIn. You got a degree in outdoor recreation, as did I. Good for you.
Yeah, I did. I think that the other huge influence on me that got me into the outdoors is I was really lucky to go to a high school that had an outdoor education program.
Oh, wow.
So starting from 6th grade on, I got to be part of a school that took us outside. We went climbing, we went rafting, we learned how to kayak, we did a ton of backpacking. And I had loved it from the first moment, and that had always been sort of my happy place. And
right.
And years later, when I had graduated from college with a degree in economics, and got my first job working as a economic analyst, doing a lot of number crunching. I was just sitting there in that office, and I felt too alive and too much yearn for adventure to keep doing that. Right. And that's where I went back to what I really wanted to do. I was like, what do I like?
Yeah.
I like the outdoors. How do I get there?
Awesome.
How do I make something happen? And that's how I ended up with my first job in the outdoors. Is I went and applied to become a NOLS instructor at the National Outdoor Leadership School. And so that was the first place that I worked in the outdoors, and that was in 2000.
Gotcha. Cool.
I did my Knowles instructor course and was kind of off from there. Took a big switch from the path I was on and went into a path in the outdoor world, starting with outdoor education.
And the rest is history, as they say. You're still here.
Still here. One of the few. It's not an easy world to stay in for the long term.
Yeah, it's I've been in it for 30 some odd years. Seems like I stumbled into it right out of the gate like you. Got a degree in outdoor rec and just having so much fun outside. And it's a topsy-turvy world. I mean, we've had some great 10-year runs and some challenges as I think we're going through now, but I wouldn't change it for anything. It's been fun.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up there. You were mentioning, so that school that I went to was called the Chadwick School.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, probably my biggest influence at the time was the guy who ran that program when I was there, named Rick Alexander, and it sounds like we both know him.
Yeah, funny. We were talking offline, so I guided on the Kern River, and Rick would bring the kids from Chadwick up all the time, kayaking and hiking and climbing, and then I did a senior class trip for you guys. This is back in the 80s, but shout out to Rick Alexander if you're listening, man. Great job. I think he's up in Montana now.
He is.
Yeah.
I saw him a few years ago.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I know he left outdoor education and then started working for Patagonia, so he found his own path out of outdoor ed into the outdoor industry.
Right, exactly, right. And so how did you get involved with REI? You're now outreach coordinator? Well, I'm sorry, I forget your title with REI.
Yeah, our job title is kind of a mouthful. It's outdoor programs and outreach market manager.
Okay.
And my role is for Southern California, except for San Diego. So there's one other person that has my job for San Diego area.
Gotcha.
But and my role runs from my region runs from Santa Barbara down to Orange County and then all the way out to Joshua Tree.
Oh wow, cool. Must be fun.
Yeah, and I ended up here. So like after I'd worked for Knowles for a bunch of years, and in between working for Knowles in that outdoor ed world, you don't just have one job, you have many, because you work by the week, by the day,
right,
by the month.
Yeah.
And so you string a bunch of stuff together.
It's like guiding. That's a guiding job. Whether you're putting boats away or on the river, you're still working.
Yeah, so I would work for Knowles, and then I also started working for another outdoor ed company in Southern California. There's a bit of a circuit down here. I worked for the Boojum Institute as an instructor.
Cool. Yeah.
A lot of people find their way through there.
Yeah.
And then I also started working at the Chadwick School as an outdoor education instructor, where I had gone to high school, so I had a nice history there.
Right.
But yeah, it was between the three of those things, that's how I kind of put together a year's worth of work, even though at the end of the year, it may look like I only worked for a month by the amount of money I earned.
Right.
Yeah, but it was super fun and great. And then, I also mixed into there. I worked in an urban ambulance.
Oh, wow.
Here in LA, which I was able to do part-time and on call. So I had gotten a wilderness EMT early on in my Knowles career. And then that actually worked out pretty well. It gave me a way to make some money when I didn't have any outdoor guiding work.
I'll bet, right.
But yeah, I was doing all those things and eventually ended up back at Boojum again, but this time as in the administration as the director of education. And I had been there for a little bit less than a year. And at that point, we were out in Pioneer Town up by Joshua Tree. When REI was just getting going, starting its own outdoor program, starting the REI Outdoor School.
Gotcha, right.
And I was in charge of all staff at Boojum. So naturally, Rebecca Bear, who had just started with REI, reached out to Boojum, one of her old contacts, asking if I would communicate to all of our staff that they had this job opening in LA, which was going to be the outdoor school supervisor. So to help start this brand new outdoor program.
Cool.
And I said, that's amazing. I will not send that out to anybody. How about I apply right now?
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't send the job anywhere. I applied the very same day and then had an interview about a week later.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up at REI, and it's 11 years ago now.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do for those guys. What's a day in the life look like for REI, for Scott at REI?
Yeah, well, the job is really multifaceted. It's a lot of different things put into one, and it's evolved a ton over those 11 years.
I'll bet.
But now, so it's outdoor programs and outreach. So the job, one big part of the job is managing our guide service, the REI Outdoor School. And we produce experiences for people, whether they're new to the outdoors or wanting to improve skills in a certain area. We have basically a full service guide service for just about every human-powered outdoor activity that REI has that supports. So we're teaching stand-up paddling and kayaking and mountain biking, road cycling, some backpacking, all kinds of outdoor skills, and a lot of rock climbing.
Interesting. Is that rock climbing unique to Southern California, or is that pretty much all over?
It's all over. So like the outdoor school works all over the country.
Yeah, right.
Anywhere there's REIs, but in Southern California, especially in LA, there's only a handful of climbing spots that are within reach.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time at Stony Point in Chatsworth.
That's where a lot of people learn how to climb.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time there.
And a lot of the founders, yeah.
Yeah, we do a little bit in Joshua Tree these days. Some climb a bit in Malibu. And we're looking forward to having some of our other climbing sites reopen, possibly Mount Williamson, and then Big Rock down here has been closed for several years, but is now reopened.
Oh, cool!
After a construction project.
Wow, cool.
But yeah, so running that guide service is one big part of the job. And that's originally what I started there to do, because that's my background. But then the job also has basically does everything else that REI that isn't running a retail store. So we are very involved in building the REI community.
Okay.
So we put on all of our events, all of our local events, all of those free presentations that are in the stores, whether it's athletes or nonprofit partners that come through and want to do presentation tours throughout the stores. So we help organize those. We also administer our grants and look for strategic partnerships.
Wow, that's
huge. So REI as a co-op is definitely a different kind of place than most companies in that we give back most of our profits back to the community. And one of those ways that we do that is in the form of grants. So we take some of that money and give it out to nonprofits that support recreational spaces.
Oh, cool.
So that's another big part of our job is finding those strategic relationships to have, finding people that are deserving of grants, and then working with them throughout the year, because we don't just write them a check and then say goodbye. It's an ongoing, long-term, deep relationship we have with these groups. And some of the ones around LA are things like Friends of the LA River, Friends of the Angeles National Forest, the Santa Monica Mountains Foundation. So really anybody that's doing great work improving the recreational areas that we have around us, that's what we focus on.
And do you rally the REI staff to get involved in some of that stuff and help? Like they have work projects. I know a lot of these groups have trail maintenance and whatever. Do you guys get involved at that level? Yeah. Yes.
So our team is also really involved in engaging all of the REI staff, making sure that they are aware and part of our outdoor community. So getting them out, getting them to have relationships with these partners that we have, getting them out to go to service projects. Our team also ends up being very involved in their training. So like another part of the job is getting all the staff to be outside. So our staff are allowed to go for free on all of our guided outings. So we encourage them to get outside as much as possible. We try and get them out on those service projects. And then we also do multi-day paid trainings by skills. So like for outdoor skills, we've been taking them to Joshua Tree for all the years that I've been here. We have this 4-day Joshua Tree learning event where we go climbing and use all kinds of backpacking and hiking gear.
Right.
And it's just a great chance to like get people outdoors in an authentic way and make sure that that they're the best that they can be for when our customers come in the store. They
have the hands-on experience. They're walking the talk.
Hands-on experience. Yeah. They're authentic. They're people that are actually outdoors people. So that when you come into that store, you're talking to somebody who didn't just learn about the product yesterday, but someone that lives the outdoor life.
Right. That's awesome.
That's part of our job too. So that's when I was saying this job is all over the place.
Yeah, it is.
It's running a business, and it's doing partnerships, and it's also doing event marketing. We end up handling any of the local media that comes through. So it's a really dynamic job, which has made it super interesting.
That's got to make it fun. Yeah, it's different day to day, so that's keeps you on your toes.
It does. It does that for sure.
Now, do you have help doing that? Do you have a small staff, or do you engage local store resources? How does that work? That's a lot of stuff for one guy to do.
Yeah, we actually have a very large staff. I definitely do not do it by myself.
Okay.
So we have about 7 full-time staff that work on my team.
Cool.
And we divvy up the work amongst all those different little buckets. And then we also have about 30 part-time instructors that teach for the outdoor school.
Got you.
And those instructors, they come from, they don't all come from retail. Sometimes we find staff that come out of the stores that also have a background in guiding or outdoor education.
Right.
And so we're able to put them to use. And it's a great way to round out their time at REI.
Yeah, exactly.
They have one foot in retail, but they also have one foot with us in guiding.
Right.
And it's a way to stay fully engaged, and you all use all their skills and have them spend time outside and spread the love.
That's kind of the best of both worlds for those of us that have guided. Guiding is kind of a feast or famine job, but if you can have a little bit of piece of retail to fall back on, it's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely rounds out the hours because, during the week there's less opportunities to be out guiding than there are on the weekends. Right. And the other half of our staff come from outside of REI. And they also come from some kind of background in guiding or outdoor education. Sometimes we find them through our various nonprofit partnerships that we have. Right. Things like the LA Conservation Corps, Sierra Club. Those are also good ways that people end up getting into the business. But so, they tend to have other full-time jobs, and they do the REI guiding just for the love of it.
That's cool. So, and managing that staff, that's a full-time job right there. If you've got people coming and going that are, contract sort of people, then you have folks that are with REI, and then you have direct staff. Man, you got a big job, man. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, that's why there's a big team. Like I said, I do not do it by myself. When we started this in 2007, it really was just me and a couple other people, and we did everything.
It's evolved significantly,
Yeah, but over the years, now we've grown into a pretty large operation.
It sounds like it, yeah. And do you base out of one store, or you really don't have a base because you're all over the place?
We have a few bases. So, like, me and my team, we move around all over the LA region. We do have if we had a headquarters, it would be the REI Manhattan Beach store.
Okay.
But we do move around throughout the entire region and work out of all the different stores. And then we have obviously all kinds of logistical things, gear and storage units and vans and trailers, spread all around greater LA and Southern California.
Wow.
So we don't just base in one place. the region's too big. So
it's huge. Yeah, you have a wide range
we
to cover. Do you get up to the Sierra at all?
not as much as I would like. I recreate a lot more locally,
Uh-huh.
and then for our guide service, the outdoor school, we're really more focused on just the greater LA area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we tend to do things that last a day, or they might have one or two overnights.
Right.
But yeah, so we kind of stay in the region. And then there's another outdoor school that is based out of Sacramento, the Sierra area.
Oh, okay, good.
And so they do a little bit more in the Sierras. The one thing that we do in the Sierras is we offer a program in partnership with the Sierra Mountain Center out of Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And they will teach some of our spring summer mountaineering classes for us.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that is another way that we get the job done. Is that on a very select basis we can use other guide services to run programs that we sell.
Augment your staff. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, or just reach out. I mean, it's too far for us to drive.
Yeah.
All the way to Lee Vining to find some snow to teach mountaineering skills.
Yeah. And these days you have to go further and further north, it seems like, to get that snow.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
Amazing.
Even in my 11 years here, there's been less and less snow.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. Well, that's fabulous. I had no idea that was so involved. I'm great that you exposed that to the group, to me and the listeners. I'm sure some folks knew about that, but I had no idea. I knew it existed, but man, that's fabulous.
Yeah, and it's all over the country. So
yeah, right.
It depends. Yeah. It depends where you are. So almost all of the bigger cities have a program like ours.
Right.
That's full service, and then it depends if you're somewhere where there's maybe only one REI or two REI stores. They might not have all of the field programming that some of the other areas do. But in one way or another, there is an outdoor school everywhere there is an REI. So, in a lot of ways, even though most people may not think of REI that way, we are a huge national guide service taking people out all over the place and providing really cool outdoor experiences for people.
Yeah, and all kinds of activities from mountain biking to climbing. I mean, that's awesome. Birding. Do you do birding? I'll bet you do birding too.
Some places. I mean, it is the guide service is a business that's supposed to be
sure
semi-profitable. There's only we tend to focus on activities that people are a little more willing to pay for, or they actually need someone to help with. So I haven't gotten us involved in very much birding, other than in some places we do photography, outdoor photography, and that way they get into birding a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and tell us. I know you're also involved in the CORP group, that's working on getting an outdoor recreation office in California.
Yeah, so it's California Outdoor Recreation Partnership, and the idea behind this group is that the outdoor industry has a really great national voice in the Outdoor Industry Association. And what the OIA and some other, just outdoor industry leaders recognized is that in the state of California, we don't have as much of a voice as we have nationally.
Right.
So they saw that there was a void there, and in order to provide that voice for the outdoor industry in the state of California, with the state government and local governments, is that it would be better to have basically an outdoor industry trade organization just for the state.
Right.
So it's a little bit like having the OIA for the state, and so the outdoor industry, along with a few other people, decided to try and start this effort of opening up an outdoor industry state trade organization for California, and that became CORP. So CORP is in its beginning stages, and I got involved in November 2017. I met with Kenji Hartunian
Mm-hmm.
about we were meeting about the Access Funds and Friends of Joshua Tree and REI being involved in supporting this really cool event that Friends of Joshua Tree does called the Climb Smart, which is coming up in October. And he also happened to mention that this thing Corp that he was involved in trying to make happen. And I immediately recognized that that's important. That's something really cool. And it's something that I want to be involved in. And it's something I want REI to be involved in. So we came on board, and with a handful of other people, other outdoor industry leaders in the state of California, we have been getting this thing started, figuring out what it is, coming up with bylaws and a platform for it. Getting it incorporated is now incorporated as a C6 trade organization.
Right. He announced that at the recent show. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So and we've had a couple meetings at the winter OR show and the summer OR show, and now we're basically in a place where we're ready to really launch as a trade organization and start recruiting members and a full-time board.
Oh, great. That's good.
So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is we have an interim board. We have the original people that have helped get this thing started, and right now we're starting to reach out to the outdoor industry companies in the state of California, saying this is what Corp is, this is why it's important, and this is why you should be part of it, because we are going to be, along with support from the OIA, the voice of the outdoor industry in the state, to where we can influence state policy and really just promote the outdoor industry. So some things that
and that's a pretty big deal. I mean, the state of California has, as you and I both know, a lot of outdoor companies that are located here, a lot of outdoor recreation here, and one of the largest economic engines in the world. So that's a huge deal. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's, in some ways we have the opportunity to lead the rest of the country, because we get something done in California, which is almost its own country in some ways. It really influences the rest of the nation.
Yeah, that's great.
So a couple of things that Corp has been working on this year and advocating for is we were a big part of the coalition to support Prop 68 in the June election, and that was something that passed a $4 billion bond to support parks and open spaces, as well as fire mitigation and water projects. And that passed in June, and we were super excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations.
And then now another issue that we're working on is creating an office of sustainable outdoor recreation in the state of California, the way that it's sort of been trending in a few other states like Colorado and Wyoming and Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
And I believe Maine and a couple other states.
Yeah, there's a handful now that have them, right?
Yeah, to establish an office that is there to coordinate and promote and speak for the outdoor industry and the outdoor recreation economy within state government. And California has some of that, but they don't have it. It's not really aligned, or
it's not a coordinated effort.
Not coordinated. I mean, there is California State Parks, which obviously does an amazing job, and the Natural Resources Agency. So what we see this position doing, the way that it's done in other states, is really just helping to coordinate policy and efforts amongst all those things, so that there's one voice for the outdoor recreation economy, and also drive some of the business aspects. I mean, Colorado's going big on that, right? They just announced that VF is moving from Alameda to Colorado. They got the trade show there. I mean, that's a lot of economic activity going on in the state that this group could influence. Yes, so that's another great reason to have an official role in the government that is sort of related to the outdoor industry. So there's been a lot of good news and success just recently. There's a bill that's moved its way through the state government called AB 1918, and that creates this Office of Sustainable Outdoor Rec. And it has now passed the House and the Senate, which was a huge accomplishment just to get it that far. And now it's sitting on the governor's desk. So by the end of September, for this thing to work, we need to influence the governor to go ahead and sign this bill and turn it into law and create this position, this Office of Outdoor Rec.
Right. We'll have to put there must be a link or something we can put in the show notes to get all the Outdoor Biz listeners to contact the governor and tell him to sign this thing.
Yes. Yeah, we're working on, we'll definitely come up with that so that you can put it in the show notes. And then the other thing we're trying to do right now as REI is we're trying to organize a call between REI CEO Jerry Stritsky and Jerry Brown, so that he can advocate for it as well.
Oh,
so
great.
REI is definitely putting a lot of effort into supporting Corp, helping it get off the ground and create it, and also help Prop 68 and this AB 1918. We've made it into an issue, and that has been one part of my job is trying to shepherd these things through and being REI's representative in the state of California for these things.
Well, that's great. Congratulations on all the work you guys have accomplished. That's fabulous.
Yeah, hopefully we can get it across
the finish line. Yeah, right. Well, if we can help in any way, let us know. We'll be happy to do that.
For sure. Let's
shift gears a little bit. So who were some of your mentors throughout your career along the way?
Well, as we were talking about before, Rick Alexander was one of the first. And then as I got to Knowles and then started working again as a guide in Southern California, there's the guy who's the current head of the Chadwick Outdoor Education Program, Alan Hill, has been someone I went to when I was very first considering, leaving my nascent career and becoming an outdoor educator. And he very clearly and robustly told me, don't do it.
Really?
It's a terrible idea. And I ignored him.
Perfect. Good.
Went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, in my early outdoor ed career, he was another person that I looked up to, and definitely helped me figure out how to be an instructor. And then since I've been at REI, my boss Rebecca Baer, who also has a long history in outdoor education from Outward Bound.
Oh, cool.
Has been a mentor of mine and helped me navigate the REI world.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so I'm assuming you participate in all these outdoor activities. You climb, you paddle, you bike.
I do.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I do. I mean, these days it's a little different. I'm a water person.
Oh, okay.
And I've always loved, especially when I worked at Knowles, being a whitewater rafting, whitewater kayaking guide and instructor.
That's so much fun. Yep.
It is. But the Kern River, as much as I love it, is a little hard to get to with a family.
Yep. And short seasons now, right?
And short limited water flow. So I pretty much get my need for wilderness and space and time on the water by hanging out in the ocean here in Southern California. So I spend a lot of time stand-up paddling. So I go stand-up paddle tour. I do a race every once in a while. I go surfing a lot. So that is pretty much one of my main activities these days, besides just running.
Cool. And you bicycle a lot?
I don't bike that much.
Okay.
Yeah. My cycling experience is limited. I was never someone who's that comfortable on the bike. I can get about 20 miles and everything starts to lock up. My body just doesn't agree with the bike.
Yep, everybody. My dad's a big cyclist, and my brother, and I did triathlons, but I just never enjoyed jumping on the bike. I don't know what it was, but I could run all day, but the bike, nope, can't do it. Interesting. So, do you have any advice or suggestions for someone that wants to get into the outdoor industry, or maybe if they're in, to grow their career?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I get a lot of people coming to me who are interested in being instructors or guides.
I bet, yeah.
And one of the first things you need to do, it's one of those unfortunate chicken and egg things. They're like, oh, well, in order to work as a guide, I have to have experience. But how do I get experience if I can't work as a guide?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find ways to get that initial professional experience.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's great to have spent a lot of time backpacking on your own or taking your friends out, but you need to find a place to stretch and grow those muscles to work as an instructor, as an educator, as a guide.
Right.
And there's places like the Sierra Club or trip leaders that's a great way to get experience. Trip leading, learning from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to push people that have some outdoor experience but no guiding experience to look to the Sierra Club or look to other nonprofits
Mm-hmm.
that do outdoor work, like Outbound Adventures in Los Angeles is another great place where you can help take kids outside. But I mean, looking around for those entry level camps and volunteer opportunities where you can be involved in taking people outside is one way that I always suggest to people that they get started.
Yeah,
They're
that's good advice.
interested in instructing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the outdoor industry, it's good to have a little bit of authenticity. No one says that you need to go out there and be some kind of expeditionary badass.
Right.
But just spending time outside, whether that's surfing, running, walking the dog, going for a day hike, doing a little bit of backpacking, all of that is great, particularly if you're looking at, wanting to get started with REI and retail or in another outdoor retailer.
Right.
Just having that little bit of outdoor authenticity goes a long way.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yep. You can't hurt going retail and then a little guiding. That serves you well in many aspects of life, I think.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Exactly.
It's a great community of people.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
it's super fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any daily routines yourself to keep your sanity? Meditate? You must get out exercising every day. Run with the dog, walk the dog.
Yeah, I had a great one this summer. My son was in LA County Junior Guards, which is kind of like a lifeguard camp for kids. But it was such a wonderful thing for me because I got to drop him off at 8 a.m. at the beach every morning for 4 weeks.
Nice.
And then that gave me enough time to like go for a run on the beach, go for a swim.
Right.
Just that little bit of like outdoor exercise every morning does just wonders for clearing the head, getting you ready to go out and, work for a full day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but then on other days, I try and mix a little bit of just running, exercise out there, and then every week I have to get out and do something outdoors, or I start to go crazy. That's what the stand-up paddling is great for. Is I'm fortunate to live near the ocean, so that's the easiest way for me to get out into the wilds of the Pacific, because the mountains and the rivers are a little further away and there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, a lot of traffic. Yeah, a lot of traffic, both once you get there and getting there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how about books? Do you read a lot? Do you have any favorite books? Or do you give books as gifts? I
do read a ton. And one book that I go back to all the time when if someone always asks me, what's your favorite book? It's a book called The Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson.
Oh.
And it's a little, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little bit it's a little bit sci-fi. It's a little bit computer geek. It's a little bit like techno punk. It's a multi-generational story that moves through the history of cryptography in World War II.
Oh,
but,
interesting.
Yeah. So as someone who's, a bit of a sci-fi nerd, it hits all the buttons.
Mm-hmm,
it's a great, so.
And we always have our head buried in a map of some sort, so that kind of ties into that too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's definitely a book I always toss out there, and lots of people have never heard of.
Yeah, never heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, cool. We'll look that up. Link to that in the show notes. And then, how about your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because it's pretty easy to say the headlamp. Everyone needs a good black diamond spot or Tika headlamp. But I was poking around in the garage.
Oh, nice.
I definitely think my favorite piece of outdoor gear is my O'Neill Reactor insulated top.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just warm enough that for 8 months a year, it's all I need in the ocean. I can surf with it. I can kayak with it.
Right.
I can even get on the Kern River with it during the warm months.
Yeah.
And it's really flexible. So that's been one of my most used pieces of gear is just that insulated top.
All right. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes. You haven't needed that much this year, though. The water's been warm.
It has been real warm.
Yeah. Yeah. Super warm. It's crazy. As we go to wrap here, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners or ask of our listeners?
Yeah, just as you spend your time in the outdoor community, especially if you're in the retail world, you have to remember to stay engaged with the outdoor community, and that's one thing that I've always tried to do in my job. It is both the job description and something I'm passionate about. Is just building that outdoor community, bringing other people into the outdoor world, because it just strengthens our constituency of people who care about outdoor places.
Yep.
And the whole outdoor industry, my job, your job, are all dependent on people getting outside, seeing how wonderful it is, and then valuing these amazing outdoor places that are all around us.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we have to work on maintaining them and keeping them and growing them. Mm-hmm. And the best way to do that is bring others. Bring others outside, show them the world.
Love it. That's great. That's good advice. And how can people reach out to you if they want to follow up and ask questions or check out your work?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. So Scott Ammons on LinkedIn. Okay. And then at REI, my email address is sammons@rei.com.
Cool.
I do have some other social media. I am not super active on it, but if you find me on Facebook or Instagram, I might see it.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Well, we'll put a link to the LinkedIn, and we'll put your email in the show notes. And if people have questions, they can follow up and hit you up. That's great, Scott. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, great to talk to you. Thank you.
Yeah, great talking with you, and congratulations. Keep up all the great work. That's awesome what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Scott Ammons from REI. I learned a ton. Thanks, Scott. You can follow up with Scott on LinkedIn and by email at sammons@rei.com. Ammons is AMMONS. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 134. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos blog, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the links to the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. And be sure to make time to get outside and take someone with you.